Hey guys, so today I'm going to be talking about an AI speed to lead system that brings in an extra $25,000 per month for a real estate agency. This is a system that I implemented for this company. So basically the reason why I'm talking about this is that many times I see people talking about speed to lead system, For example, here we have this video that talks about, how the system looks like and so on. But nobody talks about the actual numbers, the actual results of, what kind of results can we expect from this system. Or we have this other YouTube video where we talk about speed to lead, but again, no numbers, no results. The only results that I've seen from an actual video is this one, which is from the Retail AI YouTube channel. But this is about voice AI, and the most important thing is that they don't talk about what happened before the setup of the AI. Because let's say before the AI we had the conversion rate of 16%, but after the AI we have a conversion rate of 18%, which is not a lot. So if the impact is not a lot, so maybe it's not even worth it to set up an AI system, right? So yeah, let's dive in. First, I will talk about the type of client that I dealt with, their size, their structure. I will also move on to their sales funnel, and how their process is basically. The problems that I observed, of course, mainly the slowness to respond. I also observed some other problems, but here I will talk about mainly about the slowness to respond basically. The setup that I came up with, the solution, the results that we have achieved, and also why did I came up with this $25,000 per month. And you will see that this result is based on a pessimistic scenario. And obviously at the end I will tell you about some tips and tricks if you are a business owner and you want to implement this for your own business. Okay, so the client type is basically a real estate firm in Canada, in the French-speaking part. Basically, they have more than 60 realtors, so a very busy agency. This is the typical real estate firm. You will have the owner, and then there will be like some few employees in admin or accounting or marketing. For example, here in marketing, there is one person that is in charge of their social media, content strategy, also the ads and so on. And then the rest of the people are real estate agents. And from my understanding, they work on a commission basis only. Okay, now some information about their stats and the booking process. Basically, they have a different type of lead sources. As we speak, they have 29 meta ad campaigns, and it's a mix of branded and unbranded. Branded means that they use their own Facebook page, to do the promotion and so on. And unbranded means that they use some other Facebook pages. It could mean some agencies or some generic real estate Facebook page, promoting services and so on, and some of those leads will be transferred to this company. Obviously, they also have inbound type of leads, so from their website or some incoming calls. They also deal with online marketplaces like realtor.ca, as you can see here. So this is a website where companies will list their properties, and as soon as a lead is interested, of course, this information will be transferred into their CRM. Also, they import manually a lot of their leads. So let's say one of the realtors would have an Instagram account. Some lead would contact them, and basically they would import manually this lead into their CRM. And then they have other type of lead sources. So for example, a referral would mean that a competing real estate agency cannot fulfill a lead that they have because of the location, the type of apartment and so on. In this case, this will be a referral. And they also have like unspecified. To this day, I don't really know what this means, but it doesn't really matter. And obviously, they also have different kind of leads. So the first kind is buyers/investors. Basically, people that are looking for specific neighborhoods, specific properties, a specific budget, and so on. They also are attracting sellers, and in this case, for their meta ad campaigns, they would create some lead magnets about how to value your property, some checklists, and so on. They also obviously employ more realtors because they want to sell more, and from time to time they organize events, so they will attract participants, to come into those events. The booking rate varies a lot. It goes from 0% up to 41%. So why some lead campaigns, have a 0% conversion rates? Because sometimes they will have some campaigns about like a very luxurious penthouse somewhere in Canada, and obviously this type of property would attract a very low amount of lead each month. So obviously, if you attract a very low amount of people, sometimes you will not convert any of them, so yeah. And for some other type of sources, it goes up to 41%, which is very good. On average, their show-up rate is 50%. So yeah, the closing rate is 33.3%. Basically, 1/3 of the people that show up in like a meeting end up being a client, basically. Okay, so now the average net commission per client for the owner is around $5,000 Canadian, which translates into $3,600. This is just an average. At first, I thought this was too low, Maybe he was, just lowballing me or, just decreasing the value on purpose. But then when I did some search and I found out that, yeah, actually this amount makes sense because, in Canada, in the French-speaking part, the average transaction price is this figure, so $525,000. And then on average, you have a 4.5% gross commission, which means $23,000. Then you have a split of 50-50 between the listing brokerage and the buyer's brokerage, which means that my client's company would keep around $11,000. And then you have a 70-30 split between the agent and the owner. So, which means that by the end, the owner will keep 30%, which is around $3,500, which, is close to this $3,600. So, yeah, this amount makes sense. The CRM that they use is called Follow Up Boss. So, yeah, here it is. It is actually a CRM that is used a lot by real estate agencies across the US and Canada. As you can see here, each month they have around 3 million visitors, and as you can see, mostly from the US and Canada. Now the thing is that each lead that comes in gets placed in their main calendar in Follow Up Boss, and then admin employee will assign the lead to a specific realtor based on multiple things. It can be based on the property type, the location, the general preferences, even the language spoken by the lead, and so on. And then you have an average lag between the first meeting and the closing of 30 days for this specific company. Sometimes, obviously, the lag will be 20 days, some other times it could be 40 days, but on average it is 30 days. Now, the problem that I observed in this business, as I told you, I observed multiple other things, but the main subject of this video is about the slowness to respond, and we're talking about an AI speed to lead system. So basically, you have the lead that gets added to their CRM automatically when it comes from a Facebook ad. And obviously, in a perfect world, a realtor calls the lead as soon as it pops up in their CRM. However, in reality, the realtors, they are too busy to be fast because they are answering clients on the phone, they are attending open houses, they are too busy filling up contracts and papers, they also need to post on their social media, and so forth and so on. Also, some leads that come in pretty late at night or very early in the morning. So it is physically impossible for the realtor to be at his desk while the lead comes in, when it is, outside of business hours, basically. And the metric that measures the speed to lead in Follow-Up Boss is a column into this CRM called time to first call, which is the time basically between when the lead was created and when it is called for the first time. It is measured in seconds, and a value of 0 means that the lead was never called. Okay, so what I've done to assess, their current situation is that I used the API from Follow-Up Boss to analyze a specific period of time. It was from the 1st of May 2025 up to the 8th of June, so a period of 38 days. On this period, the total leads generated were 1,783 leads. From those leads, 943 were meta leads. Then 121 converted into meetings, which means a booking rate of 12.83%. Then the median time to first call was 8 hours and 10 minutes. This is a lot. So the way to interpret this is that half of their leads are contacted in under 8 hours and 10 minutes. And the other half are contacted in a period of time that is later than 8 hours. So it is a lot. So a more specific breakdown of this is that 11.5% were contacted under 5 minutes. 31% were contacted in less than 1 hour. 18% were contacted in 24 hours or more. And 10% were never contacted, which is a lot, guys. So like 97 leads were never contacted. So it's a lot of missed opportunity. And as I will show you later on, this is not only about my clients, it is well spread among all type of businesses in the US and Canada and pretty much in the entire world. Businesses are just too slow to answer and to follow up. Okay, so now I will go over some side notes that I found quite funny, If you go on Google or if you ask ChatGPT and you ask, hey, if I, set up a speed to lead system where basically I contact the leads as soon as they express interest, what can I expect in terms of increase in conversion rate? And you will see some crazy numbers. For example, here you will see a study by Harvard, that says that you will see like an increase of conversion rate of 371%, which is mathematically impossible in many cases. And I will prove it to you. So let's say you have 100 leads, and normally when you are too slow to respond, only 25 of them are converted, which means like a conversion rate of 25%. So let's apply this increase to 25, which means 25 plus 25 times 371 divided by 100. Which means that if you start with 100 leads, like 117 will be converted into bookings. It is mathematically impossible. So maybe, this stat could apply, could be real, but if we start with a very low conversion rate. So let's say you have 100 leads and you convert only four of them. So if you do 4 plus 4 times this, you will end up like you will go from 4 leads to 18 leads. This is possible, but you have like 21x by Velocify, 8x by Inside Sales. All of this is crazy and unrealistic, and you shouldn't trust it. The reality is that speed to lead still impacts conversion by a lot, but not by 371%. Okay, let's move on. The setup that I came up with for this company is that we focused on one period. It was from the 30th of June 2025 up to the 21st of July 2025. So basically a period of 3 weeks. And we focused on one meta campaign only. So we applied this AI speed to lead to only one campaign to avoid any kind of bias and so on. And this campaign was about unclaimed properties. So basically this is a marketing term that says, hey, we have a list of unclaimed properties. If you fill up your information, we will send it to you. So basically it's a campaign to attract buyers. And then the most important part of the system is to establish the baseline. So what was, the conversion rate before? So this allows us to do a proper before-after analysis. And this is important because you want to really see and measure what is the impact of the AI speed to lead system, basically. And you also need to take into account that real estate is cyclical, which means that in order to do a very good before-after analysis, you need to use the same period of time, but for last year. So basically, as you can see here, the same dates, but only 2024 instead of 2025. So during that period of time, for this meta campaign, they generated 36 leads and 5 were converted into meetings, which mean a booking rate of 13.89%. So almost 14% basically. Now, the solution that I came up with is an AI SMS conversational agent, basically an AI that will send SMS and that will start the conversation with the lead to qualify him and so on. And the objective was to book a meeting. Also, I trained the AI on their script to qualify the lead. Yeah, basically they provided me with like the script that all the realtors use, and I used that to ask the right questions to make sure that the lead is qualified before asking for a meeting and so on. And then the system will notify by email about the date and time the lead wants to meet. So I didn't actually implement like a booking system by going too much into integration, but the most important thing was to let the admin employee that like a lead wants to book a meeting, and I will show you how this email looks like basically. Also, an important thing from the system is that we would add a note to the CRM every time an SMS is sent by the AI or by the lead, because it allows all realtors who have access to the CRM to check what happened and to have full context when they call the lead, because it is very important, So now I will move on to the tech stack and integration. Don't worry, I will not bore you with the details and so on. I used Python and C# to write all the algorithms, all the infrastructure. I know that right now, we have this hype about no-code tools and so on. For me personally, I don't use those no-code tools because they slow me down. I already know how to code. I'm super fast doing that. So learning a new tool and all the intricacies of it just slows me down. So for me, I just use Python and this other programming language called C#. I used OpenAI for the trained brain of the system. I used Firebase to store and retrieve the conversation for each lead so that the AI would have the proper context and know exactly what to answer. I also used my VPS, so virtual private server, to host all the server and the logic of the system. Obviously, to send the SMS, I used Twilio with their webhooks to receive the data. And then follow-up bus webhooks to trigger the automation. So as you can see here, they have multiple types of webhooks, events that are triggered. So here I use the people created, which is the event that gets triggered every time a lead is added to the CRM. And then after that, I had to do like data analysis using Python. So after we were done with the test, I had to, of course, compute the answer rate, the booking rate, and the time span between the first contact and the booking. Okay, so now let's talk about the results that we achieved. So during that period of time, we had 27 leads, okay, and 7 converted into appointments, which means a new booking rate of 25.93%, which means before the AI, there was a booking rate of 13.89%, and after the AI, we came up with a booking rate of 25.93%, which is super exciting, guys. Which means like an increase of booking rates by 86.68%. So yeah, you can see that it is not 371%, it's 86.68. I mean, it's still a lot, you know, it's almost double, but yeah, it's still very good in my opinion. Also, I had super positive feedback from the employees because they told me that the lead already had a sense of familiarity when they discussed with them, basically. The lead would say something like, yeah, Sarah already contacted me via SMS. And obviously, when the lead has already a sense of familiarity, he's much more easier, you know, to convert. Okay, so let's see some details of the leads that were converted. I will show you guys like one slide from the presentation that I showed to the owner. I will hide the sensitive information, but basically here we have all the leads that were converted. Here it means that obviously all of them were contacted by the AI. Contacted. Here we have the ones that are booked by the agents, and here we have the ones that were booked by the AI. And for each row, we have the name of the lead, his number, when was he added to the system, and when was he booked. So as you can see here, for when it is about the AI, the booking comes in very fast. 10 minutes, you know, between the lead, the generation of the lead and the booking of the meeting. Like 10 minutes here or 13 minutes there. And obviously for when it comes with humans, you know, making the actual appointment, making the actual booking, we have like a longer delay. It can go from 42 minutes up to 5 days. But still, you know, they are easier to convert because before the call happens, you have the AI who already established familiarity, try to, you know, ask questions and so on. Now I will show you, you know, how a mail notification looks like. So basically, whenever the lead express interests and wants to book the meeting, there will be like an email automatically sent to like an admin employee in their in this company. So basically, an email will be sent with those details. We have the first name of the lead. So here his name is Pete, his number, the date of the appointment, the hour, his email, and then a summary. And this summary is very important because it allows the realtor to have full context before the meeting. So here we can see, I will just read some basic information. Pete, who is a lead, showed interest into the unclaimed properties, and this is what the neighborhoods that he's targeting, and he will move on in the next autumn, and so on and so forth. So yeah, very important actually for the realtors to use this system. Now, why did I come up with this extra $25,000 per month? As you can see here, I wrote a pessimistic scenario. Basically, this is a projection from a real past data. Basically, I took what happened in the past, and then I applied what would happen if part of those leads were contacted super fast. And also, as you can see, this is pessimistic because I said, okay, in real life, what happened with my system, we had an increase of booking rate of 86%. But let's be pessimistic, and let's say instead of 86%, it will be an increase of only 25%. And basically, I applied this system to more leads, only the top 10 meta lead sources, which means that, basically some leads will be contacted super fast, and the rest would just get, the normal conversion rates that they would have gotten anyway without changing anything into their sales cycle. And what you also need to know is that for this company and this market, real estate in general is cyclical. But here's the full breakdown for this company. Because I asked the owner, and I asked him, in which month do they have, slow leads and slow transactions, and in which month they have a higher volume in terms of conversion and so on. Basically, January is a slow month. And then you have February, March, April, and May, which are all very good months. And then you have June, which is so and so. You have the slow months of July and August. And then you have 3 months, September, October, and November, which are, between slow and good. And then you have a slow month of December. So just to summarize, 4 good months, 4 slow months, and 4 months that are, between the two, basically. So now let's open an ROI simulator that I prepared, just to show you this $25,000 extra dollars per month. Let me zoom in here a little bit. Basically, as you can see, I prepared this for 2 months. A good month, which is May, and a slow month of July 2025. And for each of those months, I downloaded the data, that already happened. So for May, they had 1,502 leads, and they converted 166 out of those leads into meetings, which means a booking rate of 11%. As we said previously, 50% of those leads show up, and then 33% end up being clients, which means they had around 27 clients during that month. And then, we said an average commission of the owner per client of $3,600, which means that during the month of May, they had around, the owner had a revenue of a little bit less than 100K USD, so 97K. Now, the number of leads that I chose to apply a speed to lead to are around 539. Because those correspond to the top 10 sources of leads. And what happened for those leads is that 95 converted, into meetings, which means a booking rate of 17.63 for this group of leads. Now, let's say this conversion rate, instead of increasing it by 86%, we increase it by 25%, which means that we go from 17.63 to 22%. So after computing, the new revenue, we end up with $133,000, which means a net monthly increase. Not a net, a monthly increase of $36,000, and a percentage increase of revenue of 38%. And I did the same for the month of July. And here for the month of July, it is a monthly increase due to the AI of $14,000. And how did I come up with this $25,000 per month? It is simply, the average of the two. So if I do 14,804 plus 36,557 divided by 2. So as you can see, it's a little bit more than $25,000. So yeah, it is already very good. And I can also play with these numbers. I can say, okay, instead of being a pessimistic scenario, let's apply what's happened really in using my system, right? So instead of 25%, let's see 86%. So we move up to $70,000 per month. And here, 86% and $24,000 for a slow month. So now let's go and let's do again the average plus 70. As you can see, yeah, it's almost double. $47,000 per month on average if we applied like a realistic increase in terms of conversion rate for a specific group of leads, which is, I mean, very, very good in my opinion. Okay, let me unzoom here. Alright, so guys, some tips and tricks if you're a business owner and you want to implement this for your own business. Basically, you need to choose the right period to establish the baseline, because I almost made the mistake of, choosing June as the baseline, like June of the same year. But it would have been a very bad mistake if I did that, basically. Also, the first text message that is sent is the most important one, because basically you want to optimize it to increase your answer rate. And the first message, like the V1 of the first message that we sent, is something like, "Hello James, this is Sarah from X. I'm contacting you to tell you that we've received your inquiry to get a list of unclaimed properties. We are preparing it for you and we'll send it to you very soon." For this, we had an answer rate of 36%. Then we enhanced this first message, and the V2 was basically the same message, but at the end we added the question, "In the meantime, which neighborhood are you targeting?" And basically, this allowed us to increase the answer rate. So we jumped from 36% up to 50%, which is very good. Also, counting the conversions is quite tricky, because at which point do you consider that a lead is dead, It's not about, for a period of time, just counting the number of leads that came in and then counting the number of bookings, because during that same period of time, some bookings came from leads generated before that period, Some leads will have 4 to 5 meetings, which means that those meetings need to be discounted and you only count as one. So, which means that for a period of time, for example, 1 month, in reality, what you're doing is that you're analyzing a period of 3 weeks and then with a buffer of 1 week, because you're saying, okay, I will generate leads for 3 weeks and then I will give the chance of the last lead on the 3rd week to be converted into a meeting during the 4th week. Okay, so yeah, you need to take this into consideration. Also, CRM integration can be tricky, because getting the right data is not as straightforward as you could think. For the appointments endpoints in Follow-Up Boss, I had some issues, getting the right data, and I had to really pay attention into the type of data returned by this software, to be sure that my analysis is very well made. Also, getting the owner API key can take some time, because here, if I show you this webhooks, endpoints in Follow-Up Boss, you can see here restricted access. Creating new webhooks is restricted to the account owner and registered systems only. Basically, I still have access to their CRM, but to be able to create the system, I had to ask for the owner to create an API key so that he can send it to me. So what if the owner is in holidays or he's super busy? He cannot always, fulfill this very fast. So you need to take this into consideration. Okay, so Some side notes and conclusion. Basically, the slowness to respond among businesses is still extremely prevalent as we speak in October 2025. Because I made a test, I basically texted 155 US businesses in the home contractor niche via Instagram DMs. I sent a realistic message. So for example, if I contacted a company in Miami, I would say, hey, do you service the West Palm Beach area? So yeah, something like a real lead would say. And I did that across California, Florida, Texas, and New York. And I did that across multiple niches, so solar, roofing, home remodeling, Windows installment, and so on. And out of 155 US businesses, 11 businesses, so only 7%, responded quickly. But it was with the dumb automation. It was like, we received your message and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. And obviously, most of them did not get back to me. 4 or 5 responded later, but it was like humans actually answering. So this showed me that a significant amount of money is left on the table every single day by businesses simply because they are too slow to respond or to follow up. And this is not just about the US or Canada, it is basically across pretty much all businesses in the world. So yeah, basically Speed to Lead is a fantastic way to add value to businesses because it can be applied to any business running ads. And the impact, as you've seen, is real. And the results are tangible and measurable. And yeah, we can see it with this before and after analysis. And also in terms of cost, charging 10% of what the business will make extra is easily justifiable. For example, in this case, charging $2,500 per month when you generate on average $25,000 per month is very understandable by business owners. You would say, hey, Mr. Owner, this service will bring you an extra $25,000 per month and you will have a 90% net profit margin on it. So on good months, your margin will increase because it will make you more money while the cost is fixed, is stable, you know. Obviously, in a slow month, the margin will decrease a little bit, but it will stay around 90%, which is, you know, already very good. So basically, with the system cost and the return, it's a 10x ROI. It's a machine where you inject $1 and it gives you back $10. Who would say no to such a machine, right? So yeah, that was, guys, my video about the AI Speed to Lead for real estate. If you're a business owner watching this and you would like to test this system for your own business, don't hesitate to book a call with me via the link in the description. Cheers, guys.